we are in.
Good evening, everybody. Today in Vitoria, in the Urban Rock Concert Hall, we have the honor to interview two members of a legendary band from Italy. Two great members of Elvenking. Good evening, Elvenkings.
Good evening. Hello there. I'm Aydan.
Hi there, this is Damna.
How was the travel to Vitoria?
Long, and we had to, of course, wake up early in the morning. Very wake up call, but early wake up call. But yeah, it's exciting to be here again in Spain.
How many hours of travel was?
Well, it wasn't that long. The flight it was like 2 hours and a half, but you know that you have
Oh.
to wake up early and be at the airport very early. We woke up at 2 a.m. this morning
Oof.
because we had a very early flight, and then we had 3 hours by van from the airport to here
Oh.
the venue. So, but it's okay.
So, we're gonna talk today about Elvenking's present, but because for Brutal Folk is our first interview, please, how did the band named Elvenking?
Okay, we founded the band back in 1997. So I think that we didn't have a name straight away in the very early days. We had some ideas and some, we were thinking about a cool name to have for the band, and I think that the Elvenking name came out around, I think at the end of 1997 and beginning of 1998. Obviously, we were all very huge Tolkien fans, time before the movies were done and so on. So we used to we read the Lord of the Rings when we were just kids, and so the Elvenking names comes from an illustration that is present in the Hobbit, and is referred to the Elvenking's Gate. So we thought it was a good name. We weren't so sure about the fact that the word king inside it was maybe abused, at the time. So we were not so sure about that. But in the end, we check other possibilities, but we stay with the name, and we that is the name that we had
Oh,
since the very
curious history.
Yep.
And about you, what made you want to be a musician?
I began to play the guitar when I was probably around 11 years old or something like that, with the classical guitar, because my parents wanted me to play an instrument, but I kind of hated. I didn't like to play the classical guitar, especially for the kind of music that I was forced to play. Then around 1989, I first heard Keeper of the Seven Keys by Halloween, and immediately, I fell in love with the music. And since I was, I could play a little bit of a classical guitar, I started to play around the acoustic intro for Keeper of the Seven Keys, for example. And I knew that with that guitar little skills that I had, I could put it into something electric, and that's where everything began back in the days.
And you, how did you start?
It's not very far from his experience. I mean, when I was 6 or 7 years old, my brother used to bring home all cassettes of bands like Europe and Bon Jovi and so on, and I was already interested in that. But then there was a cassette, an album, a band that really made me love this kind of music, heavy metal, and it was Seventh Son of a Seventh Son by Iron Maiden in 1988, and I was flashed by that. And from that moment, I knew that that kind of music would have, be my favorite kind of music, and so it did. So I started playing classical guitar, like you said, together with my brother, and then after some years I switched to the electric guitar. So basically I was a guitar player in the very beginning, but then I joined when I was 15 years old. I joined a cover band, made covers of Megadeth, Manowar, Maiden, Metallica, but we didn't have a singer. So we waited for a singer. We put some advertisements here and there, but were never successful in finding a singer. So I said, okay, I'll try. I mean, I don't know how to sing, but then I'll try. And so my career as a singer started. And little by little, I left the guitar. I played only when I write songs, and then yeah, that's the story.
One of that bands was one of that your child's idol.
Sorry.
One musician of that band was your child's idol.
Well, there were many since the beginning. I remember being very fond of Axl Rose from Guns N' Roses. And when I saw Guns N' Roses, I actually felt that what I wanted to do, before or after, I don't know, but what I wanted to do is be on a stage. When I saw him, I saw Steven Tyler from Aerosmith, Freddie Mercury from Queen, and then Bruce Dickinson from Maiden, and then Metallica, Megadeth, and all these bands. And I suddenly felt that was something I needed to do: write songs, write songs, and be on a stage.
Oh, yeah. Curious. And what's your history about your child's idol?
About your
child's musician idol?
Well, as I told you before, I first really fell in love with the Halloween, because when I was just a kid, I used to go to the home of my school friend, and his older brother has all these vinyls with this amazing cover artwork. So he had Killers by Maiden, Live After Death, for example, and I was so impressed. Since I remember, I was a very very attracted to the horror side, the horror movies and stuff like that. So obviously the Iron Maiden covers immediately blink to me. So we had these vinyls of these older brothers. We didn't know if we can play it or not. So when he was away of home for university, we used to steal the vinyls and play on the vinyl player. When I first heard Eagle Fly Free by Halloween, it was the first time I heard something like that, and I say, okay, I want to do something like that. So my idols since I was a kid have been Halloween, Iron Maiden, I would say, and then from there I started to dig deep into a lot of metals, going to the extreme and so on.
And Elvenking is a band with 26 years old experience and 11 albums, but what is the most difficult song you are played?
I think that some of the most difficult songs are present in our first album, which is kind of weird. So our debut album, Hidden Reel, back in 2001, we wanted to try to be as unique as possible, and then where all the folk influences came out. Obviously, I was personally a big fan of Skyclad since when I heard A Burn Offering for the Bon Idol and Jonas Ark, and these are my all-time favorite albums of all time. And when we founded the band, we wanted to try to have some unique sounds. Obviously, Skyclad already existed, but we always been fascinated with fantasy from one side, but also with folklore and folk music and stuff like that. So we wanted to create something around this, maybe matching, mixing it with our power metal influences or something like that, and more extreme influences. Obviously, when you are a very young musician, you tend to overdo, and try to push you to the limits. So some of the most difficult songs that I think that are present in our debut album, Hidden. So Oakenshield, for example, is one of the most difficult songs that we ever wrote, and it's very difficult to play it. Or another one is Season Speech, still from the Hidden album. So.
And for you, what's the most difficult song of Elvenking?
It's as you said, the first album was the most challenging in every sense, and songwriting it, and also in the studio. It was very hard to do that. It was our first experience in the studio.
Oof.
and it was very. I mean, we already made a demo, year before that, but the songs were pretty much the same, apart from a couple. But yeah, that was really hard. It was really hard. And but as he said, we were trying to give everything that we could. That enthusiasm when you're a kid. And that was pushing us, trying to put everything that we could in the songwriting and in the playing, even if we were really not skilled players at the time, not at all. Not not a single of us was a very skilled player. We were just young and starting, and that was really tough. It was really tough to do, but in the end, we have a very good album, I think, in my opinion. Very fresh, very unique.
And with 26 years old experience, do you feel nervous today nowadays before a concert?
No. I mean, there are some times, yeah. To tell you the truth, there are some times where we feel nervous. Maybe when we're not confident on 100% because we're maybe tired, or because it's a new situation that we are not in full control of. But no, we don't feel that kind of anxiety that we felt when we were first playing the first show, the first festivals with a lot of people in front of us. That was a bit scary when we were younger, but now it's more empowering. It's not scary, it's empowering. Seeing a lot of people, seeing people that's there for us, singing our songs, that's really empowering, and it's giving us a strength, strength to play and to be as good as we can on stage.
Yeah. And do you feel nervous before a concert?
No, as Damna said, probably is not being nervous because we are scary or something like that. It's more in my case when we have not the control, especially on the technical side. So often we are maybe we are the band who usually played in the big festival in the mid back. So we have a very short time for sound checking and stuff like that. So usually there are some problems in the listenings, and that is doesn't make you feel comfortable on stage, and that is what is makes me scary about, or
Very nervous.
very yeah exactly, yeah, that is the biggest problem. And when there is something that is not working on stage, that is make the situation very uncomfortable.
Yes.
Yeah.
I remember one band in a festival in Spain, Leyendas del Rock. The band is Alduye, that they played with 42 degrees.
Oh, yeah,
The sounds
yeah,
very bad. They were nervous.
yes.
Was their first great festival.
That happens because obviously maybe you feel that you are completely okay on stage and so on, that you can go there and kick asses and so on, and then you suddenly jump on stage, nothing is working, maybe your guitar is not working, there are problems with the in-ear monitor, and that makes the show a mess usually.
And we go to the present. This year you present Reader of the Runes Rapture. What was it like working with Scott Atkins?
Oh, it was great. It was great. It was a producer that we had in our list since some years. He worked a lot with Cradlefield in the last decade, I would say, and we were really looking to him and his work, especially what he was doing with Cradlefield, because they had, I don't want to say a similar, similar kind of music, but their music is full of
Yeah, there are
orchestration,
little
choirs, and
things similar.
lot of things happening, and that's make the mix very difficult. So that was what we were looking at. So Scott was in the especially in the last Cradlefield albums, he could make every part really clear and so on. So we were really looking at him. So this was the right chance to work with him, and was a blast because we had him traveling to Italy, because we were inside the COVID lockdown. It was not really possible to fly to the UK with the whole band and stuff like that. It was easier to have him come into Italy, so he came to Italy. He recorded the drums with us, and then he set the guitars, and then obviously he mixed and mastered the album, and we cannot be more satisfied about our an album sound and sound wise.
And what do you think about the Scott Atkins?
Totally, as he says. I mean, I think that what we, if you look at our discography, you will see that we changed producers many times. I mean, I think that we made maybe just 2 albums with one producer, and then we changed every time. This is because, first of all, we are, also big observers and fans also of the productive phase of metal albums. So we kind of want to try every time something different and try to reach more and more what is in our minds, because we've always had this kind of idea where we wanted a very organic sound with natural sounds, but still we wanted it to sound pretty much powerful and punchy, and I wouldn't say modern, but you know what I mean.
Yes.
So yeah, we've always tried to find this kind of combination, of balance. And we had some albums that are more organic, albums that are more modern sounding. But I think that with Scott, we really have a great balance of a good organic sound and a powerful sound. And I think that this album really is incredible on the production, on the sound side of things. So yeah, it was amazing. And it totally understood our music. It was great because when he was coming to Italy, he told us, guys, I've listened to all of your discography, I've listened to all the albums you made, and I have a clear idea of what we can do together. And that was great because, working with someone that understands you and knows what can be done with the band is a great starting point, and it was amazing with him.
And how was the name of the album decided?
Well, as you know, this is the second chapter of
Yes.
A trilogy of a concept story that we are developing in these 3 albums. So the previous one was the divination, because I don't know if you know a little bit the
Yes.
story of this concept. There is this reader of the runes, which is this main mysterious character who is doing these divinations to 8 different other characters, which are the protagonists of the story. And you see 8 songs where you have 8 different divinations made to the different characters. And it is like an anticipation of something coming. There is something coming when you read the first part of the story. And on the second one, you have the explosion of what's happening after the divinations. So you will have 8 songs, which will be, you will see the consequence of what the divinations we wrote about in the first part brought to in this second part. So Rapture is a word that really expressed this kind of feeling and of what's happening in this part.
So, and about the artwork, who drew it?
Sofia Dankova, she made the cover also of the previous one, and she will definitely make the cover also of the next part, the third part. That's another great artist we are working with, and that really understood the band and the mood of the story. We didn't have to go through many sketches. Usually we do, but she sent a bunch of rough sketches, and she immediately understood what the story was about, and it's great. I mean, we saw her on the cover artworks of Powerwolf, and when we saw one of the cover, we said we could maybe work with her, and we contacted her back in 2019, and so far it's been a great collaboration. She's great. She's amazing.
Yes, yes, she did a great album work. You recorded 2 video clips and a video for now for this album, The Hanging Tree, Rapture, and of the Night, in which collaborates Heike Langens from Draconian. Tell us something about, for example, where them recorded and some anecdotes on the process.
Well, you know, shooting a video usually it's a lot of work, um, especially for a band like us that wanted to be very visual and has a lot of you know, graphic and want to appear in some way as the band appear, as you can see the band appears. And as we were talking before about the cover artwork, we are very you know, we pay a lot of attention to all the design, the graphic, and the visual side of the band. So also videos for us are very important. It is obvious that nowadays to have a very good video you have to have a very big budget, and we always try to do the best for what we can, you know, afford. And so we recorded, as you said, we shooted 2 videos, one for Rapture and one for Bride of Night, and we have a lyric video for another song. We will have another lyric video for a 4th song coming together with the release of the album. And the 2 videos are very different. You know, Bride of Night, we are very satisfied about it, especially because it was directed by the guy who already did one of our previous video for Silver Seal for the album before.
Well,
And I think that video is very good. Also, Rapture is very dark and creepy. It is more done with you know, green screen and stuff like that.
Yes.
While Bride of Night instead was, you know, natural shooting, really real landscape and stuff like that, which I personally prefer. And you, I think that we did 2 cool videos by now. So
and the makeup, how many time did you take to all the painting, the clothes?
Well, before a show, usually we start 1 hour before. You know, it's
Wow.
not that complicated. But usually 1 hour. Yeah,
Oh,
taking
Must
it
time.
now with cool. You know, just
Very
slow
patient.
And, yeah,
so be patient.
yeah, exactly.
These 3 singles are the first production to your newest album, which comes on the 28th of April. But Brutal Metal is a curious press media, and we evaluate a lot of the alliances. Can you advance us about the guests for this album?
Sorry, what do you mean?
The guests like the Draconian,
Okay.
other more?
we
No.
have you know, Dave Briggs, which is
Okay, sure.
an Irish player who played tin and low whistles, which
Wow.
which is you know, is from Ireland. He was used to play in bands like Runcaster and Waylander also.
Oh, Waylander.
Yep.
Great
So we already, you know, when we need some tin whistle, which is very Irish sounding, you know, that
Yes.
the kind of flute, we always, you know, call him because he's a friend of ours since years. So he's present also in this album.
Let's
Then
have the bagpipes. Yeah,
Yeah.
now that you mentioned,
Yeah.
real instruments. We have bagpipes that are made at an Italian band called Dardiel. Dardiel, yeah. I sort of, you know, my mind. But yeah, this band that, you know, plays like kind of medieval music, and we call them. We played once together with them. They're, you know, from Italy, and they're very good. And they, you know, just recorded.
so there is real bagpipes, real hurdy-gurdy. also.
Hardy as well, yeah. The tin whistles.
Then we have obviously
Okay,
Heike from
okay.
Draconian, which is the guest in Bride of Night.
Yeah.
You know, we have noticed on the comments under the video that her voice is not so present. You know,
Yes.
which maybe can be true, but this was exactly the effect that we wanted to have. So he's singing back in vocals to Damna's voice in the chorus.
Yes.
So
The combination of the
Yeah,
voices are very great.
yeah,
Yeah,
exactly.
this is what we wanted. We didn't want to have a guest just for the sake of having a name. You know, we don't care about that. We really love her voice and what she done, and you know, with the Draconian and all her projects, and yeah, that's what we wanted. You know, so
So
and she
we
made
didn't
a
write
great
a
job.
song telling, okay, now we need a guest, so we know who can be maybe the one who can get us more views or stuff like that. We just, Damna said, okay, I wanted to have a
Yes,
female
well,
vocals here, and from all the vocalists, Ike was. We really like her voice. We love her bands and so on. So it
Yeah.
was kind of friendship relation.
Yeah.
Do you
Yeah,
want to
that's-
sing it with us?
That's the best.
Okay, we we don't want you to sing a verse or something like that. It's just backing vocals. Is it okay? And she was really happy in doing it. So
Finishing this interview, we have some very difficult questions. Are you ready?
yes,
Always.
always.
First of all, if a band would have to do a cover about a song of Elvenking, what band and what song you would like to be?
Wow, this is difficult. Any ideas?
I have to think about this.
Yeah. Okay, I can say Nightwish doing the Divided Art, for example. It can be something in the more melodic side, and then
Skyclad doing, but with Martin,
yeah.
doing Hobs and Feathers. That would be funny.
Yeah,
With Kevin,
yeah.
maybe, but that's a bit, maybe it fits in.
Cradle Fields doing Throws Kind. Yeah.
For the curiosity of the fans, which is the longest song of Elvenking?
The longest one. The longest one should be a poem for the firmament.
Is it?
Or
Okay,
King of the Elves. I don't know. They are both 12 minutes and something.
Let's see then.
Yeah.
I'm gonna check. I'm very curious.
We have two very long songs.
Elvenking.
Yeah, find it out.
Let's see.
we don't know
Let's see.
which one is the longest.
Come on, it's slow. Yeah, there we go.
We should know this one.
So, a poem for the firmament.
12 and
09.
okay.
1209.
So it's King of the Elves.
And King of the Elves. 1255.
Okay, so it's King of the Elves, which is a good choice because it's the name of the band and was, we had when we founded the band Elvenking, we knew from the beginning that we wanted to have a long song called King of the Elves.
Yeah.
Once in our history, it happened like 20 years later,
Yeah,
but
yeah.
Finally
we have
we
the.
did it. So it is really a manifest of the band. So
Yeah.
And last guest, please give some advice for young bands that are starting and admire Elvenking.
young bands. I don't want to say bad things, but starting a band nowadays will be very difficult. Because the musical scene is really changing drastically, and we still need to adapt ourselves to the new music world. We founded the band back in 1997, so it was kind of the end of the 90s when things were in a certain way. Sales were very important. Recordings, budgets were of a certain kind, and then suddenly things change. Everyone can kind of record his own album at home, or think that they believes that they can record the albums at home. Budgets from record labels are very much lower, and so on. So it's kind of difficult, but for the young bands, just believe in yourself and do the music that you like. Try to be as much as unique as possible. So try to not copy something just for the sake of being, having some success. Try to be to find your sound, and it's the only way to survive in this tough world of music business, I think.
What advice do you
Well,
give them?
I'm a bit, disillusioned by the actual musical scene and metal scene as well. I thought that metal could stand, but I think that also metal is crumbling a little bit, and it's, as he said, being a little bit old school as we are, seeing now all these bands that are kind of social media oriented and all like cosplaying costumes and female fronted posting photos all the time on social media is making me sick. So it's I'm not used to that. That's not the way I love metal to be. So I don't know what to say to a young band. Now a competition is crazy because now it's so much easier to record an album, make a photo shoot, make a video. It's so simple now. You can do it. You just buy a camera, you do it, and you buy a computer and you record. Even if you're not able to play, some plugin will step in and play for you. So sometimes we do that as well, but that's a secret. So I don't know. It's if you want to be an old school band, it's gonna be tough, really tough. But if you are young and are all social media, go ahead. I will never check your band.
And you know what I'm sick also about is that all the bands that make irony, or
Yeah.
iron out of the metal, so they put it as a comedians, or they don't take metal as serious as it was supposed to be back in the 80s and 90s. I mean, we grew up with that kind of music, and we still believe in metal to be the music that should have been something for the rioting, and something
Metal
Yes.
was against. Metal
yeah.
was a refusal,
Exactly.
and now it's like, well, what the fuck is going on?
yeah, it was aggressive because it wasn't to be rebellious against something, and so on. And we grew up with that idea of metal. It is the same idea that we have nowadays. So looking at all this band that make irony and make comedians out of metal music, it really makes me sick completely. Sorry about it.
So, Elvenking, thanks a lot for letting Brutal Metal do this interview. It's an honor.
Thanks to you.
too.
Thank you, guys.
Brutal Folkers, thanks for watching us. You can see this interview and all the news in www.brutalmetal.com. And remember two things. Who you can follow with two things: health and Brutal Folk. See you!
See ya.